All right, folks. Good late morning. Good late morning. Let me just make sure everything is all set. You see what the thumbnail is. You know what we do every single Sunday out here. We don't play the games. We're not about the games. At some point, just expect to see us pop up on your screen. LinkedIn, what's up? Let's make sure we're good on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. Hurry up, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's still waking up.
Yeah, LinkedIn's still waking up. All right. Facebook, we should be good there. Still waking up. Yeah, all right, Facebook, we're good. And the main one, folks, if you do want to support the main platform to follow me on is YouTube. That is where it comes out every single day, regardless of anything. All right. All right, we're all good. We're all good. We're all good. We're all good. Stay Hired Sunday. Here we back again. Stay Hired Sunday. I've lost track of which number we're on. Just know it happens every Sunday. Let me introduce myself to any newcomers coming in. As one, Crookshank here, former Division I college football player and current 5-time published author and educator, and created this whole brand, created this whole philosophy, created this whole business in which we're taking the lessons, the teamwork lessons specifically that I've learned from the football field and applying them to your business so it reduces the turnover in your business. And we have a whole lot to get to today, this week. Trust me, I know there's a lot of controversial comments I make, but that's just part of what comes with being in the thought leadership world. If you ain't pissing somebody off, you're not doing your job. So before I get too into my rant, Kimberly, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. It's Kimberly Blue with Ardent HR Solutions. I am HR guru, as the Swan calls me, but
Yes.
HR business partner to anyone, any business that would need support and help, and to help other people that are seeking for jobs as well. So glad to be here, Swan, for another great Sunday.
All right, first things first, let's get through 2 announcements quick. Business owners, if you have yet to do this, go to freeguide.makeitmove.com. I created a list of 10 ways in which you could use innovative teamwork to reduce the turnover in your business right now. And also join the Patreon community. We are really, really getting inches and inches closer to being a thriving 2025. And I'm telling you, as we get into that, the exclusive content is going to go solely to the people that I know are serious about making an investment and are serious about building their team. So, let's get into the topic today, because we are going to be discussing some things that if we're not careful, can go over the 30 minutes that we plan on keeping you guys on for. But it is very, very important that we establish a baseline just a way of thinking, because what I was ranted about throughout this entire week, if you've been keeping up with me through this entire week, has been a lot of things that come up in the workplace. A lot of, whether it's sexual harassment, whether it's discrimination, whether it's just a person who is going through something at home and being wrongfully accused. There's all sorts of things that are going to be kind of a subjective, or can be have an opinion, and you got to kind of be there. And there's a lot of gray areas. All right. So as always, my HR professional who keeps me on point, I made a controversial statement this week. And I'm not going to say the R word, but you guys know what I mean. If you saw the video, I'm not going to repeat it. But I made some statements because people were coming at my guy Jay-Z, and her as an HR professional was like, "Hey man, Aswan, you got to.
You're on the line. You're on the line. You got to step back.
You're kind of teetering online." So we were chatting before we started the live streams, and we could talk about a lot of different things. But I asked her, I said, "All right, look, let's come up with something in which we can, have a baseline so people know what it's all about." And her first word, the first thing that she threw out, the first term she threw out there at least, was equal opportunity. So before we start recording, before we, allow her to bring her in and kind of give you an idea on what equal opportunity is, she sent me a video that I'm going to play for you guys right now. And then we're going to, address it after it is played. It's only about a minute long. So here it is.
The Equal Opportunity Act aims to protect citizens against discrimination in 4 broad categories. These are employment, education, the provision of goods and services, and the provision of accommodation. All citizens are entitled to equality and fair treatment. The Act protects persons from being discriminated against based on their race, ethnicity, religion, sex, disability, marital status, and origin, including geographic origin. A person who thinks they have been discriminated against based on the categories and personal attributes covered in the Act can lodge a complaint with the Equal Opportunity Commission. A complaint can be lodged against an individual or an organization or business in both the public and private sectors. To learn more, visit our website at www.equalopportunity.gov.tt or any of our social media pages.
All right, so all of that sounds great, but you and I are human beings. You and I have lived through experiences, and you and I know what it's like when the human element gets involved when it comes to the letter and the law and all that. So the question that I would have for you and anyone that's actually tuning in, I'm sure that they would want to ask if they can sit down with an HR professional is, how exactly do we determine what is discrimination? How do we prove it if it's not something that's just out in your face like that?
Well, it's a great question. A lot of people get it confused.
Yes.
They think they may be discriminated against because of race or religion. So an example might be from a religious standpoint, especially during 9/11. A lot of that did happen because people were afraid. And when people are afraid about something they don't know about, they get scared of it. So a lot of people were very mean to anyone if they saw someone with a job, or they saw someone praying, or anything on their head or headdress. They automatically were like, "You're a bad person," and you can't do this. And during that time, I saw it a lot, and I still see it today. That is discrimination against somebody, for their race, for their religion, but it's built on fear, and a lot of those protected classes, it's built on fear. The marital status came to point, and this happens to men and women. It really happens more towards men think in the workplace that, oh, if I'm not married and I have a family, then my company is going to think that I can't do my job. I'm not going to be dedicated. That especially in the higher levels that you go. It'll happen to women if they're pregnant. If they're married and have children, the perception is, I cannot do my job because I'm a mother and I have outside responsibilities. And it is such a shame, because there's so many women who are mothers and caregivers who can balance work and life. Is it easy? No, but it's not easy for anybody. And so, but it is a perception. People are afraid to talk about their caregiving responsibilities, no matter what that looks like, because they know that stigma is on them. And that is also, against the law for all of those cases.
So allow me to I guess we could redefine the circumstance, because the majority of people that tune in, at least that tune into my work, they're of the sports background, and whether they're playing, whether they're in the front office, whether they have a business in which they're sponsoring a particular sports team. If you have been involved in my world for any lengthy period of time, it's because you have some level of understanding that as one's a sports guy, right? And these sports organizations are built by families. All right, it's a husband and a wife that is bankrolling, whether it's they made their money and then they want to become an owner of a sports team, or it's a business that says, hey, we're going to sponsor them. And this is how they run their business. Now, they are not wanting to discriminate per se, but they do want to have a balance to where their business is run like a family. They have the passion to where if you're not willing to sacrifice for this family, if you're not treating the job as if it's a family, in my opinion, they have a right to say, hey, look, this person doesn't want to be a part of our family, then they're not the right fit for that position. And in my opinion, what has become, at least if you're talking in terms of the way I grew up, and a lot of people who have this ambition, they want to mean something at work. They want to feel like they mean something at work, and they want to be a part of the mission. So how do you sort of express those rules when it comes to the dreams of people, the typical ambition of we'll say American people, or anyone that's coming up in this country? They want to be a part of an organization in which they feel like they're part of it and that they love dearly. But that can lead to discrimination for a positive reason, in my opinion. opinion. And if you're someone, if we're talking about me and my situation where I work, the school I teach at, we teach a lot of young Black kids to get on reading grade level. So it is damn sure not a paycheck for me. All right, this is something I mean, and
You're
anybody
passionate about.
exactly. I'm one of the few
Yeah.
guys that work there, and anybody will tell you, look, Oswan is not doing this for a paycheck. He is incredibly overqualified for this work, but I feel like what I'm doing, I'm helping these young Black kids get on reading grade level, which is why I'm always in conflict with a lot of the people that I'm dealing with, and that can cause an issue. So, as an HR professional, can you speak to that mindset a little bit and how these clashes can, I guess, sort of be? I don't want to say you're just not going to clash because then you're not growing, but how these clashes can be handled with some sort of respectability, some sort of professionalism, so it doesn't result in, okay, you're just letting good people out the door and we're just doing things that are not conducive to the mission of the company. I know that was a low question, but you know me at this point.
Yeah. So, you know what? I actually had someone asked me a question yesterday that'll explain this perfectly. They said, well, how can I ask for an ADA accommodation? So even though we're talking about equal opportunity, the same applies. So the example that I gave is that you know your limitations. You know what you can and cannot do. So if you know that you cannot do something, and then I'll apply it to your world. If I know I love football, but and I'm passionate. I went to the Redskins games all the time when I lived in Northern Virginia.
And she's allowed to say Redskins now, folks. It's back. It is uncanceled. Thank God. You see, you don't got to get it.
They're always going to be Redskins.
That's what I'm saying.
Me, okay?
There was a time before, a couple months ago, where you might have gotten, like, this video might not have been able to be monetized because you said the word Redskins. So thank God we're living in a world now we're allowed to say Redskins now. The guy, the chief, comes out and says it was disrespect to even take the name, period. So anyway, that'll take me.
Side note.
Go ahead. All right. So, that was my team, though, man. You took away my team. Anyway.
So even though that I loved the game and I loved going because, you know, it's the only time you could bring a huge group of people together and we were all rooting for the same thing, right? For the Redskins to win. Now, we were let down a lot, side note, but we still had fun.
That'll take us down another path. Right. We ain't starting there.
So, but can I play football, even though I'm passionate about it? Am I going to go and say, okay, I'm here to apply to the football team? No,
right.
So we have to have realistic expectations. Just because we want to do something, we take onus on that, and we have to look at ourselves and say, okay, Kimberly, do you have what it takes to be an NFL football player?
Got it.
So then I could come back. I'm over 40 and I'm a female, which is a protected class. So am I going to claim discrimination because the Washington Redskins will not hire me to be a football player?
There we go.
No. Let's be realistic, right?
Yes.
And so same goes for any company. Somebody might want to be a supervisor or a manager. Just because someone is a good worker does not make them a good leader.
Got it.
But what's happening these days is that leaders aren't speaking to their people and having open, authentic conversations about it. They're afraid to do that in a lot of cases. But that's the only way people are going to grow. Is if the manager, leader, business owner says, hey, Kimberly, I know you want to be a Washington Redskins player, but let's break this down for you. Have you ever played football? Do you know how to play the game? Do you know all the positions? No. Well, yes, but no. So the employee then, me or the applicant, employer applicant has to say, okay, maybe you're right. What can I do to get there? And so the leader should say, okay, so if you want to be a football player, these are the steps that you're going to have to do. And I know I'm using a funny, example, but it doesn't matter what it's for. The manager, the leader needs to sit down with the employee or applicant and say, you're not there yet, but these are the things that we could do together to help you get there. Does that make sense?
I got to tell you, and you guys can, if you've been with us from the beginning as a seasoned podcast host, man, to see Kimberly developing, it's kind of, I'm in awe right now because she absolutely nailed it. And it takes me to a completely different direction that I didn't even expect to actually go today, which is you as the owner, you as the leader, you cannot stop developing. Okay, I get you got your corner office, you got your fancy title, you have the salary that you desired when you were a kid. You get to go to your mommy and your daddy and say, hey, I made it. You get to be accepted as one of the top income earners of the world. Whatever. You bought your house, you're happily married, everything, the white picket fence, the whole thing, the whole American dream that they sold you. That does not mean you can stop developing, because what she just expressed is something that is lost on so many people on so many levels, to where you reached a certain point, you now own this business, you have this place where you feel like you can call yourself a success, or whatever it is whatever it is you define success. And instead of you communicating to the younger people, or the people that are coming up, you're not doing it. You're simply staying in your comfort zone, getting your check every 2 weeks, getting your comfortable salary, and the people underneath you are not really clear on what they're able to do to grow. Now, here's the question, and here's something I want to hear your opinion on, is now that we have these social platforms, we have LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have YouTube, TikTok, whatever, we have a way of getting in touch with whoever it is you want to get in touch with. Before, an owner or someone who is like a head of the company, whether it's a C-suite or exec, they can get away with this mindset. Now it's no longer here, because if you're a low-level employee and you, in fact, just yesterday, and she told me not to put her name out there, so I won't, but just yesterday, I was sitting in a Duffy's watching the Army and Navy game, and next to me sits an elderly lady, very young elderly lady, by the way, because I know you're listening, a young elderly lady who actually, again, I never met her in my life, but she actually taught at the school that I currently teach at. She was a former teacher there, and she's from New York. She's semi-retired now. And one of the reason I'm bringing that up is because you never know who somebody knows. And because we were losing teachers, we tried to get her back. Apparently they called her and tried to get her back. And she goes, no, I'm happy. I'm running my own thing. I have my own tutoring company. I'm, teaching this particular skill. I'm not trying to do anything full time, maybe some subbing here and there. And I bring that up because you as an owner, if you don't treat your people right, they're going to move on, get their own business, be happy, be content. And now you've lost great employees, and ultimately you have seen the demise, so to speak, of your business. And when that kind of stuff gets out there, when that spreads around, you will not get another job, folks. I don't care what degree you have. Now it's on paper. They put you in a certain position and you failed. You made the business fold under your leadership. That's a stain that I don't care. No degree is going to be able to wipe away that stain on your resume. So to that, you say what?
To that, I say it's okay to fail. I want to be clear about that, because we're going to fail as leaders. But it's not okay to stick your head in the sand and act like nothing is wrong with your culture and with your people and not do something about it. If the same thing keeps happening over and over again, then you need to look in the mirror and say, what can I do differently? You can't keep doing things the same way. And so you have a huge responsibility as a business owner, as a leader, to grow your people and to grow yourself first and keep that learning mindset. I mean, like you said, you like to see my growth. I could talk like this to people all day long because that's who I am. But once you put that camera in front of me, I was just like,
There we go.
But now I'm like, you know what? I have to get over myself, because this is going to help people. And so whoever I can help or inspire, because that's my vision and mission, then I have to get over it. Why? Because I'm a leader.
Yes.
And that's how you have to think to yourself. You have to be really honest with yourself and say, where am I the problem and how can we fix it?
All right. And the next point, the next point, and because we're kind of running low on time, we only have 10 minutes. And I want to make sure I express this too, because one of the things that was actually brought up to me this week when I was chatting, I was having a kind of a heated argument with a partner of mine, actually the same one that's a former Army, former military. He's been tuning in. Shout out to you, Ann. But so he said something to me that was incredible, because listen, look, guys, I have a lot of stuff out there on the internet. I don't know what you guys are going to listen to, or what clip is going to grab your attention, or what you're going to assume about me. It's just too much stuff for me to even care or keep up with, right? So anyway, he thought that I had learned racism in school because I guess I did an episode a year ago. I think this was around the time the Kyrie Irving situation was going on. So I told the story about something on a slavery lesson that I had in school, but I was comparing it to the fact that I learned it at home before school even taught it. So
Yep.
there were certain things I taught it, I was learned at home. And when I explained that to him, he and I were able to get kind of on an even playing field or just an understanding. And I'm explaining that all to you because I'm curious to hear your thoughts on how do we make it so we emphasize the teaching these things at home. You and I can talk here for hours about this issue and that issue. You can go to your school. Obviously, as you guys know, teachers have their own agendas too. Business owners or managers of certain companies, your store level employees, those kinds of folks, they have their own agenda too. People who got bills to pay, it's just life. They got their agenda. But when it comes to the home and how we're able to represent and teach these things in the home, how do you suggest we at least go about emphasizing that as the first step towards fixing this discrimination issue that we're talking about,
Yes.
this equal opportunity thing that we're talking about? Because in my opinion, what I've seen, this equal opportunity that we have on the screen, all that stuff starts in the home. You walk out of your house with the mindset that somebody's out to get you because of their skin color or their gender. Nobody did that. That's something that happened in your home.
I agree with you. And I'm
Mhm.
not saying it doesn't happen because it does happen. Let's
It
be
does.
realistic and real, okay?
Right.
But it does start at home. I would challenge everybody to go look up videos and trainings. LinkedIn has a training on unconscious bias. Unconscious bias.
Whoa.
Because,
Wait, yeah, we did a training on that. Well, let me make sure it's the right person. Hold on. Unconscious bias.
yes,
Let me make sure it's the right person because I think we did a training.
I've done it multiple times because people think that,
Unconscious
oh,
bias.
I'm not discriminatory. I don't discriminate people. But when you watch this and then you really look at yourself, this
Mhm.
again takes some really big self reflection. Every single person, including you and I, have some unconscious bias. Now may have worked through it because I always joke around and say I'm an equal opportunity person, right? But I didn't come out of the box that way
No.
because I grew up in an era where my some of my family was very racist,
Mhm.
and it was a challenge for me because I did love everybody as a kid, right?
Mhm.
But when I started becoming a leader and looking at things, I'm like, why do I feel that way about something?
Mhm.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
first step, look at yourself, take the training, learn what it is. It's thoughts and beliefs that you have that you don't realize you have. And where do you learn that? You learn that at home as a child. You grow up around it, you grow up in it. And even though you may feel some way, you have something, identify it, and then fix it
Oh
because
man,
it can be fixed.
it is. And speaking on your point, it just every time I hear that from a white individual, it makes me think of the household I grew up in. So my dad's Trini, black man, as prideful. I mean, listen, you guys saw it 2 weeks ago when I recorded an episode at the studio. Had a picture of Malcolm X in the back, Patrice Lumumba, stories of all the African Americans. He used to make me read stories of slavery. So again, me growing up a football guy, he would always say, if the Redskins ain't in it, I just roll with the black coach. I just roll with black. I just roll with black. So it wasn't just in the home, but I had a barber. I had the same barber, Kimberly, from second grade all the way to I grew up and I moved to Florida, and he was Jamaican. Again, same kind of persona, same kind of personality. And even he would tell me after I'm getting my haircut, no matter what, I just roll with black. Roll with the black coach, the black coach. So there was a sense of pride there. Because
Yes.
I knew eventually I was going to get into coaching. So love the Tony Dungy's, love the Mike Tomlins, love the even Sharon Moore at Michigan.
Mike Tomlin's awesome.
Yeah,
Mike Tomlin
again,
is awesome.
but
Yes.
it was actually him who said, so this is why these moments are so special. It was in '08 when Barack Obama got elected. And then that year, if you guys can remember, Mike Tomlin won his first Super Bowl with the Steelers. And he became the youngest. Your research, so he became the youngest coach before Sean McDermott for the Rams. He was the youngest coach to win a Super Bowl. And at that point, Mike Tomlin said, me being the youngest should debunk this whole idea that it's just because I'm a black guy. So the narrative stopped being about, oh, I'm just a black coach. You got to think, I was chest was poking out that year. Like, Obama's in office, Mike Tomlin don't win the Super Bowl, I got the Stony Brook. I was like, okay, but then he said that, and his responsibility towards a next young cat like me listening, you see the reverse effect where I'm watching it with my dad, who has that mindset, and I love him very much and appreciate, the pride that he has in our people. But if, at some point, you as a person, you have to develop, and you as a leader, even if you're not able to do it yourself, you as a leader, whether you're the father, whether you're the manager, the owner, you got to know when to step aside and say, like my dad steps aside and said, okay, let me watch Mike Tomlin do his thing and trust that something's going to grow from that. That's what it's all about, to where
Do you realize what you just said? So you talked about Mike Tomlin.
I can get on tangent. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I'm going to bring to your attention, because you're in a moment. So you started out by saying, because Mike Tomlin was black, right? But then when you got to the end, you were saying, I need to just look, Mike Tomlin's doing something, I want to watch him. So that color went away. That, there's nothing wrong with being prideful, right? There's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to learn, you have to be open. That's how you do learn from other cultures, is by being open. So your whole verbiage changed just in a matter of a couple of sentences.
But that's how it actually happened, though, Kimberly. That's how it actually happened. It was that year, again, my ACL's torn, I was ruined. And the video that you kind of were referring to, I saw Jay-Z in person, Obama gets elected, and then Mike Tomlin wins the Super Bowl. In that order, the chain of events. My ACL tears that year. This is 08. ACL tears. My drive home to see Jay-Z. We put Obama in office. Mike Tomlin wins the Super Bowl. I'm like, okay, look, this is it, man. This is my time to shine at this particular point. And then when he said, look, let's stop talking about the fact that I'm black. It's I'm aware of my skin color. Right. I'm the youngest coach. I'm the youngest coach of the franchise now. I believe they have 6 Super Bowls, of the franchise that has the most Super Bowls, one of the most Super Bowls in the entire league, and I led them to a Super Bowl. So it's not about a pigmentation of my skin at this point. It's because I'm good at my job. And if you notice now, over the years since he won that Super Bowl, it stopped being about hiring the black coach. Yeah. And the race, obviously the race hustlers, the ones I talked about this morning, if you caught that video, those race hustlers try to push that narrative. And I'll close you out with this concept, is when Obama got in office, the race hustlers and the gangster and all the things you got to do as a black man, particularly, all that became irrelevant, because now we were professional, 3-piece suits, know how to be public speakers. We were something besides rappers and athletes. That's just the truth. So that happened 15 years ago. You can't come back 15 years later and expect to go in the opposite direction. Same way with you and your family. When you learn, hey, maybe some of your ideals or maybe some of the things we thought about this particular race wasn't the same. You learned this on your own outside, and now you can't go back and stop progress. It's not possible. You guys can go look it up scientifically. You can't stop progress. All right. So that's it. Before I get going, I'll let you kind of close it out today. If you want to plug anything or for any last thoughts, go ahead.
Well, what I'm going to do, I was thinking about the unconscious bias side training that I did, and I think that it would help so many people. So I'm going to put something together just for this show, just for Swan, and we'll put it on the website. I'll have it tomorrow, so I'll have it to you tomorrow, so you can put it out there as a free resource for the listeners. And if you want to learn more, hear more, you can visit me at ardenhrsolutions.com, and we can work through this together.
All right, folks, let me check the comment. I think we had a couple of listeners, but I know it's a different time today. But all right, we're good there. Everyone out there, again, like I said at the beginning, patreon.com/Aswan44. Tap in with me there. Where you guys, I'll be 100%. Y'all are getting way too much for free right now, man. Y'all are getting some good stuff. People pay thousands upon thousands of dollars for the kind of gems and the kind of advice that we're dropping for free. So it's on you to take advantage of it. But eventually, again, we're going to the patreon.com/As144, and all the exclusive content will be made through there. Everyone out there, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.
See you next time.